We're at the downtown Des Moines Farmers Market, and it's important to me because it's really what helped kickstart my business. We're set up in the same spot every single Saturday because we're here every Saturday, so we're a permanent vendor. Yeah, Tim's only allowed to use the hatchet, okay, guys? Because I don't want any fingers gone. There's all of the regulars, so we solve all the world's problems in the mornings. Do you remember Scott's drink? Oh.
You got it.
Bye, Scott. We're gonna see you next week, right? It's fun. It's a family environment. I'm Kerri Rush, Fresh Wheatgrass Girl LLC is my company. I grow wheatgrass and I sell juices and smoothies down at the farmers market. I teach classes on how to grow wheatgrass. Wheatgrass is the king of all juices. It packs a lot in a little bit, so it's very nutritionally dense. When we juice it, it's the only way to get the nutrients out of it, so your body doesn't have to digest it, absorbs into your system really quickly, and you get a 3 to 5 pound salad all in a 1 ounce shot. All right, everybody grab one. Everyone's health. Cheers. When I was first down here, people were just disgusted. Like, what is that? I can't believe you're drinking that. And I'd have some old farmers come by and say, oh my gosh, I plant this in my fields for runoff, or something like that. So what the heck are you doing?
Kerri Rush is an award-winning chef with over a decade of experience as a wheatgrass farmer and business owner. However, early in her career, Kerri was on a very different path. She focused her college studies in art and landed an internship with the Des Moines Register that introduced her to business.
I started an advertorial piece, and it was called Shopping the Market with Kerri Kinley, and that's my maiden name. And so I went around to different businesses all around Des Moines, and I was their only artist in their sales department that actually went on site. I would focus on a business, and I would draw a picture of maybe what is your prime product that you want to draw people in for, and then I would write a little bit about it. And it was fun because I got to talk with the business owners one-on-one and like, why are you here and what are you doing this for? I think having that creative background really helped blossom my entrepreneurship, my business. I knew that there was going to be someday that I was going to be working for myself.
Kerri started her own company as a freelance graphic designer. She married her husband Tim in 1993 and 2 years later had their first daughter, Hannah. The excitement of a new family and professional success was unfortunately cut short in 1996 when Kerri's mother, Nancy, received a deadly cancer diagnosis.
It's interesting to think about it because she was 49 and I'm 49 now. And so I thought a lot about that at my birthday, actually, even. I thought, golly, when my mom was my age right now, she'd been diagnosed with colon cancer, stage 4 colon cancer. And I remember asking her when she went to the doctor and she told me the news. I said, well, what's the next stage? What's stage 5? And she said, Kerri, there's no stage 5. Stage 5 is death. And I thought, oh my gosh, how can that be true?
It was devastating. Getting a diagnosis is devastating. I never once thought of dying. I just knew I could heal. I just started focusing on getting as healthy as I could for my body to fight.
After I found out about my mom, your friends and family and people you don't even know, they kind of gather around you, and they'll try to be helpful. Oh, you should try this pill or this bottle of this juice or go to this doctor or try this technique. And one of my friends from California sent me a hand crank wheatgrass juicer, a cast iron juicer. And he said, I know you're getting bombarded with things, just take a look at it, do some research. Because I always have been kind of the person that didn't really believe everything I heard. I did some research on wheatgrass, and when my mom moved in with my husband and my daughter and I, and her healing her body was her first job. Me helping to support her with that was my job too. And so I started growing wheatgrass, not really knowing a whole lot about it, planting it like you would flower seeds, which isn't how you do it. I feel like, and I think she feels like, it really helped to boost up her immune system. I mean, she did other things too. It's not just the wheatgrass or the juicing that helped. I think it's a whole combination of everything, but it definitely was something that gave her hope.
After a hard battle with cancer, Nancy was cancer-free. Kerri put away her juicer and the family went back to normal life. However, another major life event led Kerri to digging out the juicer once more.
After I had my second child, I was in the hospital actually after her birth, and they give you a little postcard to fill out about how you're feeling, your emotional state, is your home safe, all those types of things. And emotionally, I was feeling very drained. I know with my pregnancy with her, it was a very difficult pregnancy because I was older. There was a lot of stress on my body, and I would go to comfort foods, pizza, Doritos, French fries, anything like that. My complexion wasn't great. I was very heavy. And so when I checked the box at the hospital on the postcard that asked your emotional state and if you're depressed, of course I was. But here's my beautiful daughter, but I was still depressed. So I was diagnosed, if you say, with postpartum depression.
Kerri was selected for a scientific study on postpartum depression. As a part of the study, Kerri was encouraged to engage in therapy sessions.
And part of my therapy, we talked a lot about getting out, like forcing yourself out of your comfort zone. And so I went to story time with my daughter. There was a book at the library at story time that kind of fell off the shelf, and I had put the juicer away. My mom had moved out, and so I did it for her. I didn't do it for me or for my family. We did it for her because she was the one that was sick. So when the book kind of fell off the shelf of the library, it was all about juicing. So I pulled it out and I started doing some of his recipes, and they were really good. The weight just started to drop off of me. My complexion cleared up. I just started to not crave junk food anymore. And I graduated from my counseling therapy, just doing so much better. My energy levels were up, and I just felt like a completely different person. And my friends were asking me, "What are you doing?" And so at the dance studio where my daughters both took dance lessons, there was a building or a space that became open that was a coffee shop. And I thought, I could do juices and smoothies in there. And my friends would go, yeah, you should do it. And they got behind me, and they said, open up a shop and show kids how they can have really healthy food. And so I just did it. My accountant, I told him what I wanted to do, and he's the one who said, "Are you crazy? What's wrong with freelance? You only have yourself. You're doing great." At the Small Business Development Center, my mentor said, the restaurant business is one of the hardest things you can do. In the food business, like, really, what's your long-term plans? And I said, I'm gonna start a revolution, with Wheatgrass. It's gonna be everywhere. I wanna be able to drive through the city of Des Moines on each side of town and go get a fresh shot of wheatgrass juice, if nothing more, just that. And she said, you're crazy. And then she's the one who said, it's just a fad. I don't really see this happening.
Despite skepticism from many people in her life, Kerri launched a small cafe where she sold wheatgrass and healthy food options. She simultaneously launched a stand at the farmer's market and leaned on her family to help with the business. Although her family was supportive, they admit that it wasn't an easy time.
I know I wasn't probably the most supportive person back then. You try to be, but it's like, you want to what? We're doing it at the house, and we're growing it, and on a small scale, it's easy, But then you start thinking about how to get it out there and how to, take it on the road, if you will. But I'd do anything for her. It's just more of I suppose maybe I'm the guy that's looking for maybe this will go wrong, or maybe we didn't think about this.
We were growing so much wheatgrass that we needed to move it up into our garage and move our cars out. And then when the neighbor came over and saw that we didn't have our cars in our garage, and he had a few extra pole barn buildings that he wasn't really using, and he offered that to us, that was when the business really started to ramp up.
I wasn't against it. I didn't ever say, no, you're not doing it. No, we're not. No way, we're not doing that. That's crazy. It was just, how are we gonna do it?
In addition to selling directly to consumers, Kerri was soon approached by retailers to sell her frozen wheatgrass juice in grocery stores in the Des Moines area.
One of the Hy-Vee stores actually called me and she said, people are in here asking for you. Can you bring it in? And I said, sure. One Hy-Vee led to two Hy-Vees, led to one of the businesses that is a Hy-Vee owned company, Lomar, contacted me and said, hey, I see you're in a couple Hy-Vee stores. We could put you in more stores. And so I kind of had to get schooled on wholesale and pricing. And so I remember getting really nervous about that and oh my gosh, are we going to be able to keep up with demand?
Kerri increased production to meet the demands of retailers and her customers. But in 2012, she ran into a major hurdle that nearly derailed the business.
I remember talking with Iowa Department of Inspection and Appeals several times and making sure, are we doing this correctly? And we were. The FDA has the book of rules and regulations on juicing and pasteurization and things like that. And it really is pretty tricky because depending on who's in charge and which office and which state you're at, they can interpret that in different ways. So wheatgrass is new, and I think they didn't know a lot about it. I got a call and they said, you are selling unpasteurized juice at the grocery stores and without a warning label. And they sent me sections of what needed to be done. So I followed the rules and I put the warning labels that this is not pasteurized. It could be dangerous for certain people, elderly or pregnant women and things like that, which is so far from the truth. But I followed their rules. Next inspection goes around at one of the stores and I get another call and they say, you can't have it in here at all. You need to pull all of it. And I challenged them and I said, I don't believe that's true. You're lumping me in with, orange juice and apple juice, and it's not the same thing. It's an extraction. We're freezing it right after it's juiced. And they said no. And they sent me a cease and desist letter. I felt deflated. I felt like I just lost. I don't know what we're gonna do. So I had to refund all Hy-Vee's money that they had already paid me, which I had already spent on new equipment or product. I contacted Dr. Angela Shaw at Iowa State University, who is in charge of food science, and I said, I need your help. So they started doing testing on the juice itself for Listeria and Salmonella and E. coli and what the chances are. And I enrolled in a class. I took a class from her. It was a setback, but I think in the big scheme of things, it was a good setback that I'm grateful for, because then I was able to get some more additional education for myself and some schooling and make sure we have all our T's crossed and our I's dotted so that we're on the right path, because we definitely don't want to make anyone sick. It's exactly opposite. The representative at Hy-Vee was very helpful. He came down to the farmer's market even and would buy juice from me there. And he said, Kerri, when you're ready, we'll take you back. And because they knew me and they trusted me, and I feel like building that relationship with them was something that I learned early on in my internships when I was working directly with businesses and doing the advertorials for the Des Moines Register, that because I built that relationship with them, that they trusted me and they believed in my products, which made me feel really good.
Kerri's wheatgrass journey began with the desire to help her mother, started to heal herself, and continues with the goal of helping others. As Kerri continues to grow and evolve fresh, she knows she's doing so with the full support of her family, who continue to devote themselves to the business.
I think one of the best parts for me is I get to have my family with me. I mean, my kids I was fortunate enough that they didn't have to go to daycare all day long, and that they were able to be with me and be a part of the growth of this, and we work on things together. I know one of my daughter's friends said, I can't remember what we showed up to, an event or something, and they said, well, the Rushes are here, it's all of them. We all travel together as a pack, we're our own little gang, and I think that's one of the best parts for me, is to be able to have everyone involved.
Oh, I'm very proud of her. She's an amazing woman. I mean, she's an excellent mother, she's best friend, just wonderful, just a wonderful person. I love her.
She kind of sets herself aside too much, and she just helps everybody as much as she possibly can, and she comes in there last. And So I'm really proud of her for pursuing what she wants to do, what she loves to do, because a lot of people have benefited from what she started here.
Without my family and my support team, I wouldn't be here right now today doing this. I would have probably quit and because I always sort of threatened it. You can ask my kids, okay, fine, I'll just get a regular 8 to 5 job. You're gonna have to go to daycare, you know, or I would say things like this when I would get really frustrated, because if I didn't have them and I wasn't able to do it with them together, and I feel like I would be so lonely and it would be so sad. And I see other businesses and entrepreneurs sometimes starting up businesses, and maybe that's where they're not successful. Maybe it's that balance with the family and the support system that they have. Like maybe financially they're more successful than me because, you know, I'm not living in a mansion and driving a Rolls Royce or anything like that. But we've definitely got to do things in our family that I don't think we would have been able to do otherwise if we hadn't all been together, and if it hadn't been for Wheatgrass, for the business, really.
California, the most populous state in the nation, is home to Hollywood stars, Silicon Valley's technology, and ancient redwood and sequoia forests. Bob Wersen was born and raised in California, and in 1960 he started his first business to help pay for his tuition at the University of California, Berkeley.
I was running out of money and there was not going to be much more from home, so I started a business to manufacture wire and cable harnesses and cables and cable assemblies. I had a couple of customers and that's what they wanted and were willing to let me make for them. And the mission of that company was to provide me with enough income to pay my educational bills and cover my living expenses. And in a very narrow sense, it was very successful because I graduated from Berkeley with just $600 in student debt.
Bob's business went through several changes, and in 1975 he launched his current company, Interpower. His goal was to build Interpower into the premier supplier of power system components worldwide. For the next 15 years, Bob led the company through major changes in the electronics industry. He was always keeping an eye open for new opportunities to grow his business.
I concluded that I needed to have more control over the products and how they were designed, the design process, and then ultimately manufacturing those products if I was going to really be able to take things to the next level. And the more I looked at those processes, the more I realized that California was not in my future. I'm just not going to be able to do that there.
In 1990, Bob struck up a conversation with the director of the Oskaloosa Chamber of Commerce at a national convention, and he began considering a move to Iowa.
I was at the National Plastics exhibition in Chicago. That's one of these huge exhibitions. If you want to see all of it, you really got to stay on a schedule. And I realized I was running ahead of my schedule, so I had a little bit of time, and I decided, it says Iowa, the time is right. I think I'll give them 5 minutes of my time. And 90 minutes later, I walked away totally behind schedule. And but with an armful of literature and the realization that I could reinvent my company and how I could reinvent it.
Not many businesses make the move from California to Iowa, but Bob was excited for the opportunities that Oskaloosa provided for Interpower.
I wanted to be within 60 miles of an airport. I wanted to be in an area where there was a labor supply that wasn't terribly expensive. One of the problems in California was that there wasn't much labor supply, and what there was really expensive. And then there was the surf's up mentality, I called it, which made Mondays and Fridays difficult for even management level people. I mean, it was a very difficult situation. So I felt that it had basically all the positives I was looking for. I think my wife and her mother, and maybe the cat, were more scared than I was. But I was ready to go. I saw opportunity, and I didn't look left or right.
The Wersens and Interpower made the move to Iowa in 1993. Bob found fast success in Iowa, and Interpower quickly outgrew their new Oskaloosa facilities. By 1995, he doubled the size of his Oskaloosa plant, and over the next decade added buildings in Ames and Lamoni, Iowa, to keep up with the increased demand.
I really don't think that Interpower we could have done what we've done here in Iowa anyplace else, certainly not in California. It's not a business-friendly state, and it's certainly not manufacturing-friendly. And this is a state that wants to get the job done, and it's been a really, really solid opportunity for me. We are the largest cord manufacturer actually making cords in the U.S. today. There are about 12 or 14 different cords used in the world today, and we can supply every one of them.
Bob found another wonderful business opportunity in Iowa around the turn of the century when he came up with the idea of growing something different than corn and beans on his farmland.
I was scratching my head what to do with it, and I decided that grapes made a lot of sense, but if you're going to grow grapes, you better have some say in how they're going to be used. And so it was pretty easy to, just kind of move towards setting up a winery also. And that's when the big money started to flow.
A true entrepreneur, Bob Wersen was able to build a successful business with his Tassel Ridge Winery, just outside the Oskaloosa city limits.
It has been fun, and I will tell you that what we're engaged in marketing at Interpower is business-to-business marketing, and what we're doing at the winery is business-to-consumer marketing. And there are some similarities, but there are probably more differences and subtle differences than there are the similarities. And that has been very, very challenging as a result. It's been a real interesting education, and I feel pretty good about what we've accomplished. We're now the largest winery in the state, and we're making some really good wines that are getting better. I'm very enthusiastic about the prospects of the winery.
Bob Wersen turned 75 this year, and he has no intentions of slowing down or retiring.
There is never a dull moment. There's always a new challenge, always usually a new opportunity that comes wrapped in that challenge. And I like the idea that the buck stops here. I'm ready for that. I find this to be a real challenge, and I like waking up and having to hit it.